time to see if you all still want to watch my videos after telling you some of my unpopular opinions. Hi everyone, my name's Chloe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. So when I first started watching BookTube a few years ago now, tag videos were all the rage. Like, everybody was doing tag videos, and it seems like they've kind of faded out a little bit, but I still very much enjoy them. And I thought, you know what, there's all these tags that I didn't do because I wasn't making videos at the time. Shouldn't mean that I can't do them now, so why not? The most popular one I think that we've all seen throughout the years is the unpopular opinions tag. I think everyone likes to know those sort of like juicier opinions, and they like to see if they're going to disagree, and a lot of times actually quite a few of us agree with them. I think unpopular opinions might actually be more popular than you think they are. But I am here today to share a few unpopular opinions. I'm just going to preface this and say I am sorry if I say anything against one of your favourites. Just maybe not for me. But anyway, we're done with the disclaimer. Let's go on with the questions. The first one's really easy. It's a popular book or series that you didn't like. Now, my go-to answer for this is basically anything in the Shadowhunters realm, anything by Cassandra Clare. And I'm very sorry about this because I know that lots of people, one of my best friends included, love these series, because obviously there's plenty of them by this point. I have read, so I will say, yeah, I have read some of them, because I know a lot of the times people are like, yeah, but have you actually tried this? Have you tried that? I haven't read all of the series because I don't like them. I have read all of the Mortal Instruments though, so I've given it 6 books now to try and see if I like it, and I just don't. And again, I know people say that it gets better with the Infernal Devices, but I don't think the writing style in Mortal Instruments I didn't particularly enjoy, and I do think her writing has probably got better as it's gone along, but I also didn't particularly enjoy the magic system or the whole world or dynamic of it. Demon hunting's just not something that particularly interests me. So yes, Shadowhunters, I gave it a try. I don't think I'll be reading any more of them. I'm happy that you all have this Cassandra Clare universe, that you're all very excited whenever a new book comes out. I love that for you, just not for me. So the second question is the opposite way around. It's a book or series everyone else seems to hate and you actually quite love. So for this one, I actually should have been prepared because they're up on my shelves over there. Let me go and grab it. So I know this one is going to be quite unpopular because I know that a fairly big name booktuber has actively hates these books and has read them fairly recently. And whenever I see the comments underneath those videos or anything where he's talking about reading it, people are like, why would you even want to read that? That is The Infinity Cycle by Adam Silvera. I'm going to preface this and say that Adam Silvera is actually one of my favourite authors. His sort of contemporary or speculative, some of it actually is, work is some of my favourite books I've ever read for various reasons. One, because I do love his writing style, also because there's particular things within the story that I relate to myself and I kind of read them at the perfect time. I am definitely biased towards his writing style, I know that, and I think that's why I enjoy these, is because I have started reading more fantasy over the years, but it has been more recent, and I do by more recent I mean like the last year or so, I really started reading fantasy, and this was kind of at the beginning of me getting back into that sort of genre of books. So it was nice to have this where I could still recognise the writing style from his contemporary work and then see that in a fantasy setting. That being said, the fantasy elements of this definitely need work. The world building in the first one in particular, not great. Like, you are very much thrown in at the deep end and things are kind of thrown at you as and when you need them, rather than actually setting up the world and you feeling like you can sort of keep up with the story. The second one kind of has the opposite problem where it almost over explains things too much. So yeah, definitely issues with that, but I do appreciate the sort of Adam Silvera-ness of it. Some of the characters I really enjoy, the basic storyline I really enjoy. I think I've watched interviews with Adam where he's talking about writing this one, and you can tell that he did learn a lot after the first one. I think if it had gone in with a better approach originally and just been able to set up that world, I think the actual premise of this would have gone down better with a lot of people. but that world building did throw a lot of people off, which is completely understandable. It is a trilogy. I do plan on finishing the series. It's not, again, I just want to say, it's not my favourite of his books. It's probably my least favourite of his books, but I do not hate it like some other people seem to. So question number 3 is a love triangle or an OTP where you don't like who the character ends up with. Now, I don't read a lot of books with love triangles in. I tend to avoid them because I'm not a huge fan. The series that I can probably think of where actually my opinion has changed fairly recently, and that's Shadow and Bone. I'm going to hold my hand up, and if you don't want to be spoiled at all for Shadow and Bone, come back when I put my hand down. But starting now, spoilers. I read the Shadow and Bone trilogy quite a few years ago now, and I did not like Mal and Alina. I didn't like Mal on his own as a character, so I didn't like them together. Now, I haven't reread the books recently, but I have watched the TV series, and Mal in the TV series I actually enjoy. And also, having watched, I don't know if anybody has watched the video that Hannah from A Clockwork Reader did about the Shadow and Bone series, no sorry, about the Shadow and Bone trilogy and her reread of it in preparation for the series, but she talks a lot about how teenage her read the series very differently than adult Hannah is now reading it, and how a lot of the things that Mal did that people said was toxic at the time isn't actually, and actually it's quite understandable when you realise how like much of a villain the Darkling actually is. So I do think that on reread I would change this. I don't think I'll ever particularly wish for them to be together. Mal's a bit boring to me, but that's probably the one that comes to mind. Anyone that's gone away for the Shadow and Bone spoilers can welcome back. A slightly more obscure series, by the way, that actually works for this question is Any Couple in American Royals. American Royals is a contemporary series, it's contemporary duology, which is about if America had a monarchy rather than a presidency. So it's basically the descendants of George Washington. I have spoke about this in a video before, but basically the second book ruins everything that happened in the first one, and every couple that they set up is sort of dismantled within about 10 pages. So anything that ended up on that book, I was just like, okay, well, this isn't where I saw it going, and wasn't particularly interested in. So let's just say anybody in American Royals. Question number 4 is a popular genre that you never really reach for. So for me, this is probably horror or thriller or crime, anything in that sort of genre. I tend to either read for contemporary or fantasy, speculative, sci-fi. I don't tend to reach for things where I'm supposed to be guessing the twists throughout it. And I also don't tend to like horror because I don't particularly like being scared. I don't like horror films, so I'm not going to read horror books. But yeah, anything thrillery based is just not normally for me. There are a couple of thrillers that I have read and enjoyed, but it has to have a very sort of, it has to either be from an author that I'm particularly interested in, or it has to have a particular plot line that's just too intriguing for me not to read. The same with saying that there are some horrors that I will read, like I've got Mexican Gothic on my TBR, I believe that's horror. There's a couple more I think I've got there, a couple more thrillers that I've got. I will read them, but I'm just very, very picky with them. Question number 5 is a beloved character that you do not like. Now, I'm struggling to think of someone for this one. I mean, there's not really, the characters I don't like tend to be the characters that other people don't like as well. So yeah, I'm like, I had a look around. I mean, I spoke about my lack of interest in the Shadowhunter world, so basically anybody from that. I know that everyone loves sort of, well, actually no, because I was about to say, like, I know people like Magnus Bane and that, and I'm like, no, but I did like him as a character, actually. And the other characters that I didn't particularly like were probably Clary and Jason, and I don't think I'm alone in not actually liking those two, so I don't have a particular answer for this one. I'm a little bit boring, sorry. Question number 6 is a popular author that you can't get into. My answer for this one is probably going to be Sarah J Maas. I have only read one of her books, but it was enough for me to not want to read from her again. I'm gonna hold my hand up here, and I know people are gonna tell me that I need to give like ACOTAR a chance or something, but the book I read was actually like a random, it was a Catwoman one that she wrote, but the thing is it was actually the writing style and particular choices to do with like punctuation and grammar and things like that that I really, really didn't like. Like, she's known for the M dash, and the way that she did that throughout just irritated me to no end, to the point I struggled to get through that book, and I do not DNF anything, so it was a struggle, and I just don't, I think because it is that, because it is actually the writing and the grammar part of it and the punctuation, I don't think I'll be able to get through any of her books, even if the stories sound interesting. I did have the Akatar series and I unhauled it because, I mean, I bought it on a whim just because everyone else was talking about it. I wasn't really that fussed anyway. And then when I read some of her work, I was just like, no, actually, no, I don't need to. Same with Throne of Glass. I had the first one and then never read it. It sat on my shelf for about 2-3 years and never read it, so unhauled it. Don't think it's for me. I'm very, very sorry. I know there are a lot of Sarah J Maas fans out there. Not for me. Question number 7 is a trope that you are tired of seeing. Now, when I was thinking of this, I've got a trope in mind, but I can't think of any books that actually do it. Although you'll know what I'm talking about when I say it, and it's the not like other girls trope. So it's the idea of, like, it's when you have that female character who's like, oh yeah, but she's different because she's not like other girls, because she doesn't like makeup and she doesn't like girly type things. She's different from everyone else, which is why she's special and she's the chosen one. And I don't care. It's always like the ones where yeah, someone's like, oh, but she fights instead, so she isn't like other girls. And yeah, it just grates on my nerves a little bit. Like, you can be a fully rounded person, you can be like other girls but still be yourself and still have different interests. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It happens a lot in fantasy books. Like, it happens to an extent in The Cruel Prince, which I actually really enjoy, but Jude is very much set up as this, like, yes, she does fighting, so she's not like her sister who wants to join the fairy court and all this. And I'm just like, and why though? Why does it have to be either or? Why does that have to be a thing? Anyway, yeah, not like other girls trope winds me up, in case you haven't noticed. Question number 8 is a popular series that you have no interest in reading. Now, I've already mentioned a couple. Like, I've mentioned anything by Cassandra Clare, anything by Sarah J Maas. My other one, probably, that I'm hearing a lot about at the minute because the newest one just came out, is the From Blood and Ash series. I, again, have read other things by Jennifer L. Armentrout before. It was completely different type of work. It was actually some of her contemporary stuff, but did not like the writing, did not like the pacing, didn't think it was particularly well structured and, like, easy to read. And if that's an issue with her contemporary work, I hate to think what it's like with a fantasy. And I have seen, for all the love that this series gets, I have also seen people say that the pacing is completely off, and that nothing throws me out of a fantasy book more than pacing being off, because I would struggle to get invested and struggle to understand it if the pacing's all over the place. So no thank you, not for me. As much as I want to join in the hype, just not something I see myself doing. And then the last question, question number 9, is the saying goes that the book is better than the movie. What is an adaptation that you prefer to the book? Now, I was thinking about this, and I do have a couple of answers that are like, yes, I definitely prefer the film or TV show as it may be to the book. Some of them being Game of Thrones. I once tried to read Game of Thrones, couldn't get into it. Loved the TV series until that last season, which was questionable. Gossip Girl is another one. I read all the Gossip Girl books when I was a kid, and I do very much enjoy them, but I do think that the way that they handled the TV show improved on it so much. I also recently watched a random one, which is a film called Spontaneous. It was a book that came out a few years ago, and I can't even remember who it's by, but I thought the book was okay. The film I actually fairly enjoyed. I do then have 2 answers where I really, really enjoyed the book, and 2 of them, and they are both kind of up there with favourite books of all time. And it's not that I preferred the films or play as one of them answers is going to be, but it's more that I see them as 2 very separate entities, and they are both amazing for different reasons. So the first one is Love, Simon and Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda. That both the book and the film are just comfort things for me. I watch the film whenever I feel sad. I read the book at least once a year. I love them both so much, and they are similar. Like, it's a very good adaptation of the book, but there are definitely differences as well, and there's differences in the film that I really, really love. I'm glad that the book has a different version as well, if that makes sense. Like, I love them both for different reasons. Also, particularly with Love, Simon then having spun off to Love, Victor, I really like that whole sort of extended world that's building around it. So That one, just both amazing for different reasons. And then the other one would probably be A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. So I really enjoyed the book. I read it a few years ago now. I also really love the film. I think it's a very well done adaptation. The way that they use the animation for the dreams in there is fantastic. It's very well done. It makes you cry, just to warn you if you're planning on watching it. I also have had the chance to see the play. I saw it in London about 2 years ago now, and that is also a very well done adaptation. The way that they create the monster on stage is, it's really like, you literally see it being built on stage. It's all done with ropes and an actor, and it's so interesting how it's done, and just sort of the use of the stage in it, it's so good. It has been shown a couple of times on YouTube and on National Theatre Live, so if you do have a chance to watch it, I do recommend it. It's a very good adaptation. I also have the script of the play, of the book as well, and again, very faithful to the book, but also different for the reasons that it needs to be different for the different medium. So yes, those two are not necessarily better, but just different because they need to be. Okay, I'm rambling now, so we're gonna leave this video here. Thank you all for watching today. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. Please talk to me in the comments. I'd love to chat to you all. I'm actually struggling at the minute with figuring out what sort of videos I want to do, because I keep trying to vlog, but that's not really working for me at the minute, which means that I kind of get to Wednesday and I'm like, oh, I need to have a video up. So if anyone has any suggestions of video types you would like to see, please leave those in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye.